So many of you know when God is calling you. Many of you are able to pick up on the signal now. Before you couldn't pick up on it because you didn't know what you were picking up on. Because you could have been getting the signals from God, but you didn't even know what you were. Well, you didn't realize it. Let me just put it like that. You didn't realize it. But now, honey, you know. You know how you know? Because there is this powerful feeling that you feel from the core of you, and it speaks to you. And that's like the intuition that you have within you. It is activated. And that is one of the gifts that is God-given to all of us. It's just that many people don't tap into it. So you have been tapping in to that intuition, that spiritual gift that God has given to all of us. It's not just for certain people. It's actually for everyone. It's just that so many people are distracted with giving into the carnal nature that they have within self, where you want to feed the flesh more than your spirit. That's when you really get in trouble. Oh my goodness. I was even caught in there too at one point. Good thing I was with someone for a long time, because if I wasn't, I could have been a hoe. Like, I'm gonna be honest. You never know. It could happen to anybody. I'm gonna be honest. But I was in a relationship, so I'm trying to keep it PG. I was in a relationship, so what I wanted was always available. Now, what if I wasn't in a relationship? What if I was just like a vagabond, acting like I had no home, no job, and just walking around like being an ick hunter? What if I ended up being an ick hunter? I don't think I want to really do that. Okay? No, I don't. I don't want to be an ick hunter. I don't. Okay? But that could have happened to me. And many of you might be in that energy because you don't have nobody, or maybe some of you want to be in that energy because that's just where your mind is at and that's how you feel. I get it. But when you do that, it really takes you away from your soul and your spirit, because your focus is on satisfying the flesh. And that right there is, it can overpower anybody because it's so powerful. That passion right there is power. And I'm just being honest. Some people might not want to hear what I just said or might feel offended. It's not meant for that though. I'm being honest with you. I'm just being honest. If you don't like it, I get it. But hey, when I get to talking, I'm going to just say it how I got to say it. Okay? So, I feel like many of you are just noticing little things within self that you know have prevented you from moving forward when it comes to you feeling better about yourself. Like in reaching that ability to say, I am enhanced, or I am now, like I have a spiritual upgrade. The first step is to be able to have enough silence to listen, to hear when God is speaking to you. God will speak to you through memories, like triggering certain memories in your mind to make you think about something, because God knows that that thought will lead you to where God wants you to be led. Sometimes you'll see people that you haven't seen in a long time and they tell you something and it sparks it could spark inspiration. It could spark you to want to indulge or explore something that you've never explored before. And it could lead you to yourself in a very profound way. And these are beautiful moments because God will place things externally, being that God knows that we pay so much attention to the external because of so many distractions in the world, that sometimes God, or many times, God has to use what God could use to get you back to the God in you, to get you attached to God's presence, because God's presence is within you, right? So when you attach yourself to the ways of God, you attach yourself to yourself instead of being detached from self and attached to the ways of the world, because the ways of the world equate to death. Okay. You want to choose life because many of you may feel as though life is not what you had maybe expected it to be, or maybe you get into this mode where you start to compare people, or you might get into this moment in time when you say, why me? Why do I not have anybody? Why am I not in a relationship? Why don't I make millions? Why don't I? Why don't I do this? And why don't I do that? And why can't I have that? So the focus is to get out of that and just start to take action so you can get what it is that you want. So you don't have to say why. It's more like when. Because you know it's coming, but it's like, when? How can I create a formula so I can cultivate the win? How can I do that? And I mean like the win, like winnings, like I actually do have the result that I want. And I'm also talking about when it comes to the time. Yes, there's divine timing. However, you can still plan, engage, and measure the metrics of your situation, and dependent on the moves you make and how you do them and what you have in mind to bring into fruition, you can begin to calculate and build a trajectory for yourself to understand where you're going. Like you could really project into the future for yourself to know how much work do I need to do to get this result. You see what I'm saying? So we all have the ability to do that. Now, you only start thinking like that when you are in tune with yourself and you're in tune with the God in you. Everything that we go through, especially when it's like difficult tasks or spiritual tests, many times those tests are basically meant to make us stop doing things that we should not, that aren't good for us. The only way that we will stop doing them is if we recognize ourselves that we shouldn't be doing them anymore. When you start to pay attention and reflect on the things that did not turn out well for you in your life, when you did a certain thing and you stop yourself from doing that thing and you refrain from taking part in it, you begin to learn how to save yourself from nonsensical activity, from getting yourself in trouble, from doing this, that, and the third, because you're thinking now. You're thinking about what could happen, what didn't happen, what would have happened if you did that. You really give yourself time to think about the options and making the best decision for yourself in moments where it could be challenging and in moments where it's more simple. It's just to reflect in and of itself is a beautiful exercise and practice, because it becomes ritualistic in your life, and in everything you do, you are really calculating in your mind if it's right or not. Like, does this even make sense for me to do this? Like, does it make sense for me to do that? The more you ask yourself those questions as you move around in the world and you are reflecting from your own experiences as well as others, because I feel like it's very wise to learn from other people's experiences that you may not have gone through, because that means that you are saving yourself from going through additional spiritual tests because you chose to learn from someone else's experience. Save yourself a lot of time and heartache and pain and aggravation when you are bold enough to be honest with yourself, not to say, oh, that's not going to happen to me. People say that all the time. I have a little cousin, and he a little gangster. I'm not going to lie. He's gotten himself in trouble. He's done things. He like beating people up, all that. I'm not going to lie. And I always tell him, you're not invincible. And I love him very much. He's 20-something now. And he's tall. He looks like a grown man, but he's not. And he's handsome. And then, the girls chasing him and all that, I mean, we passed that. He has one girlfriend now, which is good. I like that one person thing. It's good. Because you got to think about diseases and stuff now. And nobody wants that. But I always tell him that he has such a big ego, and he's he's such a social butterfly. He could just make friends with anybody. I remember I took him and my daughter and my other little cousins to Great Wolf Lodge. It's like an indoor water park, and we spent like a few days there, and we had a really nice time. And he was just, I couldn't even find him at one point. I'm like, where did this child go? I got to bring him back to his mama. But at that time, he was probably like 17 or 18 or something. But we had such a nice time. But I had to tell him, like, we in a different place. You can't just be disappearing like that. I got to bring you back to your mother. I'm responsible for you, okay? But I kind of veered off. It just made me think about him. But he has that mindset where, like, he just feels like Incredible Hulk. Like, in his mind, he don't need a bulletproof vest because he got one already. But he don't. But in his mind, he does. Like, nothing can touch him. Like, he's just very confident. The confidence is wonderful. If everybody walked around that confident, but it's overly confident because it's to the point where it's dangerous. So if you know anybody like that, just, it's good, but if you can, help them to be mindful of the fact that things do happen and to be smart about it, and I want you guys to be smart about it too, because you gotta be realistic. Certain things you do can lead to certain outcomes. So if you've seen somebody do something and they had a certain outcome, and then you happen to see it over and over again through different people, then that wasn't a good outcome. I probably should leave that alone, right? I probably should leave that alone. For instance, let's just talk about like someone who's on drugs, any type of drug. And you saw them before they started that drug, and you saw them after they have been doing that drug for years. And you remember who they were prior to the drug, and then you see them now, they look like a completely different person. And like the resemblance of who they were before doesn't even look the same. So if you look at that person's choices and you say, I was thinking about doing that drug because I was wondering if it's something I wanted to do. And I'm just being honest because I feel like these are thoughts that people really have because the Spirit is talking to me in such a way. But if you look at that person's life and you're like, they ended up losing their kids, they lost their beautiful wife or husband, now they're homeless, they don't have nowhere to live, and they wish they never had have taken that drug, because if they didn't, then they would haven't. It's very likely that they would still have everything that they had prior to. So I'm saying all of this to say that you are now taking ownership in your life, like you're taking the wheel in your life, and you're listening to your intuition, because that is the God in you. That's the whisper of God's mind speaking to you so that you could reach the highest version of yourself. That's why it's so important to use discernment and practice using your intuition, because it is the whisper of God. That's God's whisper. And I never said that before. I never even thought about it like that, but it is. Because it's like deep down inside of you, you know the answer, or you know in which position you should stand, I just heard. Because the whisper tells you. But when you ignore the whispers of God that are inherently within you, you end up going in the wrong direction and you suffer. You hear the whispers because you are a chosen one. You belong to royalty. Okay? When you hear those whispers and you're paying attention, that signifies that you belong to royalty and you belong to righteousness. When you hear those whispers and they're of goodwill and good fortune, you know that that's the right thing to do. Now, for some people, those whispers are evil. And that's when you see people like, oh, the voices made me do it. You see? And I also think that has a lot to do with will. Somebody being strong-willed and being able to Because there are spiritual attacks that happen, and you start hearing some crazy stuff in your mind, and you're like, why am I thinking that? You know? But you have to be strong enough to fight those voices back, because they'll try to slide in and catch you slipping. Now, that's not God's voice. God is not going to tell you to hurt somebody, like harm somebody, not unless it's like self-protection or something like that. And you have to protect yourself or your family. That is different. But I'm talking about when you want to do something to an innocent person, and when you want to do something that's like not normal. That goes to show that that's someone who's been infiltrated by the enemy, because they don't have that armor of God. They don't have that breastplate on their chest. They don't have that willpower to say no to those negative thoughts that come trying to sneak in, because those are spiritual attacks that are sent. And that's like the archons on the moon. You know, they hiding behind there, sending out frequencies to people to harm their family. That's when you see things like, I'm telling you, when you hear people doing crazy stuff and burning people up and eating people and all this crazy stuff, and then on PCP eating people, I don't know, many times I heard that story. People get on PCP and eat a family member, like, and then don't even know what happened. Like that, you leave yourself open to all types of things that come and like, oh, you're open. I've been looking for a vessel to climb into for years. Now that's the best piece of meat that I could retreat in. That is disgusting. I just said it because it came out, but that is very nasty. That's nasty. But it came out. I know. I'm sorry. Excuse me. But that's how it came out, because it disturbed me too. But it's true. And I feel as though you are so strong now. You can see these things. You know when people are trying to attach themselves to you, to feed off of you, because they don't have any spiritual nourishment. They have no light. So they want to feed off of your light and dim your light. You know better now. So you have become so strong spiritually that there's a lot of attacks that can't even reach you, because you're too powerful. When you have God on you, in you, and you are activated by listening, it's one thing to hear what to do and you don't do it, but when you hear what to do and you respond to your intuition telling you, that's the person I'm supposed to be around, or I need to leave that person alone and I'm supposed to collab with this person. You know, it's just meant to be, because God is telling you, and you are God. We are all a piece of God, and together we are God's, because that's just how it goes. God made us to be gods. God created the earth, and we are sent here to maintain it and to take dominion over it and to love it and to love each other. Now that is what needs to be restored. Once that is restored, the entire world is going to shift. It's going to change, and it already is. It's happening already. It's just that those who have the low vibration within their vessel that has taken over and they can't snap out of it, they must be moved out of the way, because they cause problems to God's plan and they have to be eliminated. I know it's rough. I know. But that's a part of the reason for the chaos. It's a sifting. You know what a sifter does? Have you ever seen a sifter? It's like it separates the fine material from the more solid material, and you get the most, I want to say, the purest version of whatever that substance is, or material, whatever it is. But a sifter is that it looks like a net, an aluminum net, and it's usually like it looks like a scoop, like a bowl a little bit, and it has a handle. And if you put whatever you put in there and you sift it, then it's going to sift the most pure, natural, with like no lumps. It's just like very smooth portion of what is being sifted. So in life, we are sifted. You know how we're sifted? We're sifted through the trials and errors that we experience when we're going through spiritual tests as well as spiritual awakenings. That's when we are sifted. And so when we go through a spiritual test, God knows that there's something that we need to work on in that area. That's why we're going through that test. And many times it has to do with relationships. They'll put someone that you are highly attracted to in front of you, but they're going to be a demon though. And they won't appear to be a demon at first. You won't know that they are they have entities attached to them. You won't know that they will use sex against you to control you. You won't know that. You're just going to think that you've been given a gift because all you can see is the good in the person when they're riddled with bad, but it's on the inside. So you don't even really, you can't see it. That's when you have to use your discernment, because that person is a test for you. And if you don't pass that test, you will suffer. You see what I'm talking about? So once you pass the test of sifting for whatever issue you're having that needs to be corrected, in which is the reason why you have to have a spiritual test to prove that you've learned the lesson in that area, you then will continue to go through that same thing, and it will just get worse unless you recognize that there's a problem and you stop. And when you do stop, you will feel a sense of lightheartedness that you hadn't felt in so long, because you didn't realize that you were laying down with an entity. You didn't realize that you were laying down with someone that had all types of evil spirits attached to them, and they're just being used like a puppet to get people like you who have kind hearts that want to destroy you, because you are a part of the solution to the problem. So you're going to keep on getting these people that keep coming to you, and all they're going to do is come drain you, and you're going to think you're having just such a wonderful time, not even knowing the ultimate plan that they've been set out on is to destroy you. And the saddest part is that a lot of them don't even know that that is what they're actually doing, because they're so weak within their psyche that they have no idea that they're being used by the enemy. So this is what you are saving yourself from, because you've recognized the patterns, you've paid attention, and you've become so strong in the spirit that the little things that used to catch you slipping before, they can't catch you because you're too sharp. You're just way too sharp. Okay, so congratulations on your spiritual ascension, because this is a big deal. This is something to celebrate. Bravo, darling. Bravo. You've done an amazing job. And if you would like to book a coaching call, a reading with me, or purchase any of my books, you can visit my website, www.milkhoneyRose.org. All right? All right. I'll see you in the next message.